Blackjack Joe was my lily-livered foe. Till the day he died, I longed, how I longed, oh, to lick his hide. It all began out east, for the business out in Tumbleweed. I'd come with the missus, Unc Jeb, my seed, Snortin' Bill, Little Jane, and Warty Jim, from a bitter cold winter and the prospects slim. We'd heard tell the riches, the open land, and off we went down the road like a merry band, in a sturdy wagon with a healthy mule, but we didn't know the truth of the travel's gruel. Billy said we'd end up dead, he'd heard in school. Bothered as his father, I told him it's my rule, it's my decision. Still, we hadn't the vision to pack enough provisions. Snortin' Billy snorted in cool derision. Angry as I was, I didn't beat him to submission. So it's like I said, we set to the road to see what the West may deliver. Fording down the first river with some warmth in old Unc's liver, we tipped like fools. Janie caught a shiver, lost half of what we had, and we took away Unc's fuel. 2 months later, and one seed less, we staked out our plot up the river from the rest. We washed soft yellow metal from the coarse white sand. Old Unc Jeb saw it in the sifting pan. Hollered blue at my Billy till he fetched a rusted bean can. Sat down with the family and devised a plan. Mama and I set out in the rain, too much gold for just one man. Mrs. by mule and I by horse. Thunder roared and scared the steeds with force. Mrs. lost the reins, the mule took to speed, slipped in the mud, and God earned my greed. Not much time for grief or tears, with a bag full of gold and a family full of fears. Starvation at the top of the minds of my kin, Jimmy taken ill and in bed he grew thin. Swelled up stomach bulged past his chin. The wind was a whipping as my wife began to stiffen. I stared upon my lifeless wife and wouldn't allow myself a thinking about my wifeless life. Left a final forehead kiss and I rode away. Gripping tight horse mane, I remained on course. Spurs inside, I would not stop my ride until the pain had ceased. So I galloped down the hill toward the town to the east. The beast ran away when I jumped off the saddle, its blooded brown thighs shaking like a child's rattle. I ran into Ezra's front. To put it blunt, he's the Jew in Tumbleweed who do the humble deed of cashing in the lucky few, and desperate too, who find nuggets or the golden tooth or two. He took a look and called mine true. I took the monies, left the rest, stuffed the pockets of my vest. Try as I did my best. Could not fill that hole up in my chest. The rain turned hail, the sun set west. I took a room at Sal's saloon to my regret. I hadn't meant to spend the night. Tumbleweed ain't so polite. I couldn't sleep. I trolled the bar and drank away the day's deep scars. I threw back 8, was not enough. I took a seat with Albert Gruff, the gambling man who didn't bluff. We played a couple, I made some dough. A head's a good place to shake and go. Before I did, right to my left, sat Blackjack Joe from myths and legend. With sunken cheeks and foot a dragon, he looked at Bert, said, "Deal me 7. I stayed to play Blackjack Joe once, a hero to my 2 young sons. I thought I'd leave, but one and one, drank and grew more numb. I played and played more dumb, and Blackjack Joe just tapped his spoon all like a drum. I went all in, every crumb, all we'd worked for, lump and sum. I flipped 3 8s, but I was done. 2 ace, 3 6, full house, Joe hummed. Woke in the bed of Sal's saloon, inhaling fumes of Bella Lou, who lay beside me in my room. Her bruised up back and on her chair, her folded skirt reminded me of Mrs. lone and frozen in the dirt. Lay there, eyes closed but wide awake and fully aware of my mistake. I must have paid. She turned around and snuck away without a sound. Without a horse, without a dime, I couldn't get to my kin or get 'em off my mind, so I took a job as cattle hand. They drove me north a 2 days ride to make some money, feed my chides. 2 months I worked, they promised pay, but gave me nothing day by day. I wrote thrice home, got nothing back. By month 3, post came in sack. Ripped up the side and read wall to wall. Unc's gnarled hand. Jimmy died, his warts and all. A shallow grave, unhallowed land. No time for tears with bottles near and family that may still be here. I drank a lot. I quit my job, them sons of bitches had me robbed. Tumbleweed had called me closer. I thought I couldn't get no broker. I went back to playing poker. Lost most of the money every time, chugging whiskey, playing risky from behind. Spent 2 weeks a gambling and a begging till one day in walked a living, breathing legend. Not just some legend we all know, but Blackjack Joe with a full bankroll. We played all for hours, may have been days. My whiskey left me in a haze. Somehow, some way, my pot just grew, till every chip I had accrued. That is, all but a lonely few, strewn in front of Blackjack's spoon. He looked me straight and said a word. Let's play tomorrow with all you earned. I'm tired now, I need a room, and then a birdie for dessert. The heck's next day we came to play. Sal's Saloon was the place. Joe brought a whole new load of cash. He dragged his spoon across his mustache and warned me, don't do nothing rash. We played for hours to no avail. We didn't win, we didn't fail. Till one hold'em hand he bet like holding was painful. I had a pair of queens with one on the table. Held in the excitement I was able. On the river he went all in. He flipped ace high, I said I win. He smiled a brownish, greasy grin. I felt a breath upon my neck. It smelt of gin and certain death. His sidekick Mitch had played the trick. He took my flask, I'd taken sick. Try as I did to fight them both, they won the scrum and tied me up against a post. Blackjack Joe caressed his spoon. Mitch McCaw, the sloppy goon, grabbed my hands, began to croon. A miser man is made by moon. No eyes, no hands, a mere baboon. He pushed them past their natural point. They broke, done all every joint. Joe plunged his ladle to one socket, put my iris in his pocket. He dug his thumb into the other till most my sight was ever smothered. He left me there to die that day. Untied me, Doc sewed me up so I was okay. Still, Joe took my eye and broke my hands. And if you can't provide, then you ain't no man. Well, I walked the town a full-blown bum. Bella Lou caught me in the round. In pity, she tossed me a gun. I might have ended it then, but I still had a son. Sat lots and Sal's a-crying and a-moping, filling the floor, a-listing and a-hoping. But Sal's rope grew thin, his clients were shocked. He told me I was no longer welcome nowhere near his shop. Walked into the thoroughfare full of horse shit and dirt. Sat there and softly cried into my shirt. When I had no more tears, I kicked up the trail. I hitched to a place that I used to know well. After 3 days of walking and hitching and walking, came to my old home on the river. I went a-knocking. Well, the door fell right over and onto a carcass of an old man who was my unc way back when it started. Angry and scared, I knelt there and cried. Felt his withered face to make sure I was right. I yelled out for Billy, but no one returned. I lit my last match and left that house burned. Back to Tumbleweed with hate in my heart. Damn, didn't care if I was nearly blind and my hands torn apart. I was gonna learn to shoot Bella's revolver and shoot down Blackjack Joe on my family's honor. Seemed like all had been taken from me from that lying, cheating scum, but when I drew, he'd know vengeance had come. I went to the brothel and kicked up some fights, challenged kids to duels just to practice my sides. Got to a point I was feeling pretty good. Couldn't wait for old Blackjack come back to this neck of the woods. Grim as it may have been, it was an honest living. Only scumbags choose to duel, so it was justice I was given. Well, I wasn't much a losing, got a little local fame, lost focus, got proud and hungry for dames. Why should I wait for the fools to get set with their aims? An old legend made me, perhaps he's the only one to blame. One young fellow thought he had a thing to prove, caught me in the shave, had his little lady come and ask me for a duel. We met at a quarter to something or other. He didn't talk much, and I didn't stutter. We draw on one, don't leave it to chance. He moved to abort as I moved to advance. Still he drew quick, but I drew yet fast. I sent him a packing up to the north where the first is the last and the lines is real short. But when I took out that pistol to let out a blast, he'd let out a snort, and I remembered the sort. I'd shot down my snorting Billy in cold, bloody sport. Sure, I got glanced, but I didn't die. Damn Blackjack Joe took all that was mine.